Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next hour. External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar slams double standard on conflicts at G20 Foreign Ministers meet, says threatening development cannot facilitate peace, also calls for no accommodation to terrorism. Indian Air Force to bid farewell to the longest serving aircraft MiG-21 with a ceremonial flypast in Chandigarh. Air Chief Marshal A.P. Singh will fly the last sortie of MiG-21 Bison aircraft. US President Donald Trump announces 100% tariff on pharmaceutical products from 1st of October, also imposes tariffs on trucks, home renovation materials. And in Asia Cup, India to take on Sri Lanka in the last game of Super 4 in Dubai today. Already qualified India to face Pakistan in the final on Sunday for the first time in 17 years. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar called for zero tolerance towards terrorism and urged the international community to avoid any form of accommodation or indifference to terrorist activities. Take a listen.
Development is that perennial disruptor of peace, terrorism. It is imperative that the world display neither tolerance nor accommodation to terrorist activities. Given the extensive networking among terrorists, those who act against them on any front actually render a larger service to the international community as a whole.
And speaking at the G20 Foreign Ministers meeting in New York on the sidelines of the UNGA, External Affairs Minister referred to ongoing conflicts like Ukraine and Gaza. Dr. Jaishankar said that such geopolitical tensions directly impact global energy, food and fertilizer security, especially in the global south.
Is on the correlation between international peace and global development. In recent times, that is well established as both deteriorated in parallel. The costs, especially to the global south, in terms of energy, food and fertilizer security were starkly demonstrated by ongoing conflicts, particularly in Ukraine and Gaza. Apart from jeopardizing supplies and logistics, access and costs themselves became pressure points on nations. Double standards are clearly in evidence.
He further said that the global peace and development have seen parallel deterioration in recent times.
Peace can certainly enable development, but by threatening development, we cannot facilitate peace. Making energy and other essentials more uncertain in an economically fragile situation helps no one. Therefore, the way out is to move the needle towards dialogue and diplomacy, not in the opposite direction towards further complications.
And India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar participated in the G4 Foreign Ministers meeting held in New York alongside his counterparts from Japan, Germany and Brazil. The ministers reiterated their long-standing demand for comprehensive reform of the United Nations, particularly the UN Security Council. Dr. Jaishankar in a post on X said, and I quote him here, "Glad to join the G4 Foreign Ministers meeting along with colleagues Takeshi Iwaya, Johan Wadefull and Mauro Vieira in New York today. G4 reiterated its commitment to reforming the United Nations, including the UN Security Council. It also assessed the current state of the intergovernmental negotiation in the process," unquote. All right, we'll go across to DD India's Akshay Dongre. He has more information on this. Hi Akshay, India has consistently spoken of zero tolerance towards terrorism. Tell us, how did Dr. Jaishankar strengthen that position at the foreign ministers' meet?
Well, first of all, the kind of speech that has been given and delivered by the India's foreign minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, is clearly in sync with the policy of the movement against any kind of terror attacks. Then that is a zero tolerance to any terror activity, and that not only includes a targeting of civilians or killing of people. That includes providing fund to terror organizations, using them as a blackmail tactic, or even providing safe sanctuary, or that also includes staying silent when others suffer because of terrorism. So that has been one major takeaway, and especially at a point in time when one of the world's largest harborer of terrorism and terror groups, Pakistan's Prime Minister, is in US to meet Donald Trump. The statement has, in fact, been an awakening call for the rest of the world, that how many a times, even the biggest democracies in the world are turning a blind eye as far as the menace of terrorism is concerned, and US being one of the primary victim of these kind of terror attacks in the world, especially when we talk about 9/11 or the following attacks, and that have been taking place on the US soil. So one thing is absolutely clear, that India has made its position not only clear in the region but also in the world at the UNGA. So we'll have to see how this proceeds further. But a clear message has been given by India that talks and terror cannot continue when it comes to ties at a bilateral level, and at an international level. The world must work together to isolate these non-state actors as well as state actors that provide safe sanctuary to these terror attacks in the world.
Akshay, also the minister criticized what he called double standards in applying sanctions. Can you explain what he meant by that?
Well, to interpret what the minister said about the kind of sanctions that have been, or rather tariffs, sanctions, these kind of economic measures that have been used, they have been used mostly to fulfill, or rather to further violate, rather further individual agendas of the nation. For example, if one country is in dispute with another, instead of using the sanctions, that is to prevent any kind of these activities that threaten the peace of the world in general, or threaten global governance systems in general, they have been used as an agenda or as a tool to punish your adversary, which has been the primary purpose behind the sanctions. We have not seen any major sanctions in the recent years against entities that have been promoting terrorism, that have been threatening people, that have been killing innocent, that have been stopping women from getting education, from all of the social evils that are brewing in the world. The sanctions have primarily been used only to fulfill personal agendas by the nations, and that is a hypocrisy that Dr. S. Jaishankar has pointed out at the UNGA.
Lastly, Akshay, in terms of diplomacy, what message does this send about India positioning itself as the voice of Global South?
Well, a very good question, Abhishek. In fact, as far as the global supply chains are concerned, the first and foremost impact when there is a war or there is a conflict to the supply chain is to the developing world, to the countries that are mostly from Global South, that maybe do not have the capacity or supply chains to provide adequate to their population, and who rely on others to provide sort of basic necessities, in sort of a trade that countries are willing to do, especially in Africa or in South Asia, Southeast Asia, or in other parts of the world, even in West Asia. These are the countries that got hit first when the conflicts erupted in between Russia and Ukraine, or the current conflict that's going on in West Asia. So nobody's talking about the rights and the protection of these nations. Most of the countries are talking about their agendas, their bilateral issues, but India is one of the only countries that is not only talking about peace but also talking about Global South, and that has positioned India at a very unique place as far as the leadership of Global South is concerned.
All right, Akshay, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for your inputs. Dr. Jaishankar held talks with Australian counterpart Penny Wong on the sidelines of G20 Foreign Ministers meeting in New York. Taking to social media platform X, the Australian Foreign Minister said Australia and India are important partners with strong ties of history and community. Australia's Indian diaspora makes a rich contribution to our national story. In a social media post, the Indian External Affairs Minister also stated about his conversation with Egyptian counterpart Dr. Badr Abdellati. Dr. Jaishankar also met the UK Foreign Secretary Cooper on the sidelines of UNGA. The two leaders discussed follow-up from the recent successful visit of PM Narendra Modi, during which the two nations announced the Vision 2035. In continuation of India's humanitarian assistance, a fresh consignment of humanitarian aid for Afghanistan following last month's devastating earthquake has reached Kabul via Chabahar. The Ministry of External Affairs said that the latest shipment, consisting of 3 container loads of relief materials, had arrived in Afghan's capital via Chabahar port and was handed over to the authorities. The consignment includes a wide range of essential items such as food supplies, water purifiers, among other essential goods. This is the third batch of Indian assistance sent to support those affected by earthquake. The 6.0 magnitude tremor, which struck on August 31st, claimed nearly 2,200 lives and displaced more than 23,000 people, making it one of the deadliest quakes to hit Afghanistan in recent decades. Moving on, after 6 decades in the skies, the Indian Air Force is set to retire the last 2 squadrons of its iconic MiG-21 fighter jets, with a ceremonial farewell scheduled for September 26 at Chandigarh. For decades, this aircraft was the backbone of India's aerial defence, serving in key conflicts from 1971 to the Balakot operations. An Indian Air Force tribute describes the aircraft as not just a fighter but a symbol of resilience, highlighting the deep connection between the machine and the personnel who flew and maintained it. The farewell marks an emotional moment as the jet flies into the sunset, but the aircraft will not be sent to the scrapyard. As its engines fall silent, the MiG-21's legacy will be etched forever in the history of the Indian Air Force. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will be attending the Indian Air Force's MiG-21 decommissioning ceremony today. In a post to X, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh wrote, and I quote him here: "Today, 26 September, I shall be in Chandigarh, shall attend the decommissioning ceremony of IAF's MiG-21. Looking forward to it." Unquote. Time now for a very short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Donald Trump says he held good talks on Gaza, including with Israeli PM Netanyahu. Trump understands risks of annexation in West Bank. And US President escalates legal retribution campaign as ex-FBI Director James Comey indicted.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. US President Donald Trump on Thursday announced new tariffs on pharmaceuticals, big rig trucks, home renovation fixtures and furniture. Trump, in a social media post, stated that the US will be imposing a 100% tariff on any branded or patented pharmaceutical product unless a company is building their pharmaceutical manufacturing plant in America. He added there will therefore be no tariff on these pharmaceutical products if construction has started. And the announcement also covers other imports, including a 50% tariff on kitchen cabinets, 30% to upholstered furniture and 25% to heavy trucks. The new tariff rates will be implemented from 1st October. The US President also said that the United States would give proceeds from tariff revenues to the farmers.
And we're going to take some of that tariff money that we made, we're going to give it to our farmers, who are, for a little while, going to be hurt until it kicks in. The tariffs kick into their benefit. So we're going to make sure that our farmers are in great shape because we're taking in a lot of money. We're finding, the other day, it was very interesting, they found $31 billion.
US President Donald Trump vowed on Thursday to stop Israel from annexing the West Bank as he presses to end the Gaza conflict. Speaking to reporters in the Oval Office, Trump said he will not allow key ally Israel to annex the West Bank. Trump made the statement just minutes after updating that he had spoken with Netanyahu ahead of the Prime Minister's planned speech to the United Nations General Assembly.
Some very really good talks today on Gaza with both the Middle East representatives and kings and all of the top leaders in the Middle East. And we had also a very good conversation with Bibi Netanyahu, trying to get the hostages back, and we're trying to get the end of the Gaza situation. It's really bad, very bad. And we think it could happen. Maybe it could happen pretty soon. We want the hostages back. We want the bodies back. And we want to have peace in that region. So we had some very good talks.
And following the Trump statement on Israel, Saudi Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud, who attended the meeting with Trump, said he believes the president understands very well the risks and dangers of annexation in the West Bank. Take a listen.
What I can say about the meeting with President Trump, which I think was a very important meeting, is that the Arab and Muslim countries made very clear to the president the danger of annexation of any type in the West Bank and the risk that poses not just to the potential of peace in Gaza, but also to any sustainable peace at all. And I feel confident that President Trump understood the position of the Arab and Muslim countries, and I think the president in the US understands very well the risks and dangers of annexation in the West Bank.
Meanwhile, European Council President Antonio Costa on Thursday urged world leaders at the United Nations to act collectively to confront major crises around the world. Speaking at the UN General Assembly, he called for the unconditional release of hostages and immediate ceasefire.
Peace in the Middle East requires a collective response, and we need everyone to assume their responsibilities. We must act together and demand the unconditional release of all hostages, an immediate ceasefire, full and unimpeded humanitarian access, an end to illegal settlements, a renewed, credible commitment to a two-state solution.
And Israel Defense Forces eliminated Hamas platoon commander Wael Mutre in Gaza on Thursday. The IDF in a social media post stated that Mutre was Nukhba platoon commander in Hamas Shati battalion in the Gaza City area. The post further stated that the Hamas leader took part in October 7 massacre as well as planning and carrying out attacks against IDF troops throughout the conflict. The IDF troops also dismantled a significant man-Hamas combat compound containing stolen humanitarian aid and weapons. The troops also uncovered an underground passage that connected several operational apartments used by Hamas terrorists. The year 2025 at the UN has proved to be a historic one for Syria as the Syrian head of state addressed UN General Assembly after almost 60 years. Syrian President Ahmed al-Shara in his speech said that Syria is returning to the international community after 6 decades. On third day of general debate at the United Nations, Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas also addressed the UN through a video link. More in this report.
Conflicts in Gaza and Ukraine have taken center stage at the UN General Assembly as world leaders seek solutions to intertwine global challenges in an effort to promote peace and security. On Thursday, Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas addressed the UN General Assembly by video.
We reject Hamas' action on 7 October, which targeted Israeli civilians and took them hostages, because such actions do not represent the Palestinian people of their just struggle for freedom and independence.
On the other hand, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who is scheduled to address the United Nations General Assembly on Friday, stated he would condemn recent recognitions by some nations of a Palestinian state.
I will condemn those leaders who, instead of denouncing the murderers, rapists and child burners, want to give them a state in the heart of land of Israel. This will not happen.
French President Emmanuel Macron, who received the 2025 Atlantic Council Global Citizen Award from BlackRock CEO Larry Fink, used the occasion to warn about growing threats to the UN Charter.
If we believe that we live in a global order, we should never accept a double standard. And what is the credibility of the Europeans or others to say it's very important to respect the territorial integrity of the Ukrainians, it's very important to respect the principles of the UN Charter, but not to have a single word for Middle East, not to have a single word for what's happening in Gaza.
French President Macron also met the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in New York on the sidelines of the UNGA. Meanwhile, for Syria, it was a historic day. For the first time since 1967, a Syrian head of state addressed the UN General Assembly. The Syrian President, Ahmad al-Shahara, in his address, pledged to rebuild a Syria that guarantees the rights of all without exception.
Syrian state formed fact-finding committees, and it also gave the United Nations the permission to investigate, and it reached similar results with unprecedented transparency in Syria. I pledge to bring to all justice all those whose hands were stained with the blood of innocents.
Al-Shahara said commissions had been created for transitional justice and to investigate the fate of missing persons, while work is underway toward electing a legislative council. Al-Shahara also pointed to the full restoration of international relations, new regional and global partnerships. He also reiterated Damascus's commitment to the 1974 Disengagement of Forces Agreement. During his stay in New York, the Syrian president met with other world leaders as well. He met with the US President Donald Trump, the Syrian state news agency SANA reported. Besides, he also met with the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in New York. The Syrian President Ahmad al-Shahara also met the French President Emmanuel Macron. The theme of the 80th session is Better Together, 80 years and more for peace, development and human rights. The UN General Debate of the 80th session, which opened on the 23rd of September, will conclude on the 29th of September 2025. Fuzail Ahmed reports for DD India.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov on Thursday accused NATO and the European Union of declaring war against Moscow through their support for Ukraine. Speaking at the G20 Foreign Ministers meeting at the United Nations headquarters in New York, the Russian Foreign Minister accused the West as well as NATO and the European Union of provoking the crisis in Ukraine.
For decades, numerous crises in Africa have not been resolved, in many cases inherited from colonial times when borders were drawn out arbitrarily without any consideration of ethno-confessional factors. Another clear example is the crisis in Ukraine provoked by the West, which NATO and the European Union have declared a real war on my country and directly in it.
And British Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper slammed Lavrov, denouncing the Kremlin's unprovoked war of aggression. Cooper said the UK and the Allies will continue to stand in solidarity with Ukraine.
See, the Russian representative is leaving his seat because he does not want to hear the response to his illegal war of aggression towards Ukraine. Let us be clear, it is an unprovoked war of aggression that is not just a disgraceful assault on Ukraine's security and resilience. It is an assault on the UN Charter's fundamental principles and respect for sovereignty and territorial integrity. and no amount of false fantasy world distortions, misinformation and propaganda from the Russian representative about the causes of the war will convince anyone.
US President Donald Trump expressed dissatisfaction with Russia's actions in Ukraine's conflict on Thursday and said that Ukraine has a chance to regain its territory based on the observations of the situation. Now, the airspace over Denmark's Aalborg airport was reopened early on Friday after a closure for the second night in a row due to suspected drone activity. Earlier, the same happened on Wednesday night after drones were observed near the airport. Denmark's defense minister said on Thursday the nightly drone sorties were hybrid attacks combining military and covert tactics and were aimed at spreading fear. Whereas reiterating defense minister's comments, Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen said that attacks are being done over critical military and civilian sites.
Denmark has in recent days been subjected to hybrid attacks. Drones have been seen in several places at critical infrastructure, military and civilian. These are attacks that we must expect. There are maybe more of them, and they are attacks that have shown vulnerabilities. And these are attacks that are intended to create insecurity and division. These are attacks that should shake us as people and as a society.
Moving further, as the US President escalated a campaign of legal retribution against political foes, former FBI director and prominent Donald Trump critic James Comey was indicted on 2 criminal counts. The charges came days after Trump took the highly unusual step of publicly urging Attorney General Pam Bondi to take action against Comey and others he sees as enemies. Comey was charged with making false statements and obstruction of justice in connection with the probe he conducted into whether Russia interfered in 2016 election that Trump won and if Trump colluded with the Russians. If convicted, Comey faces up to 5 years in prison, according to federal prosecutor Lindsay Halligan, who was appointed by Trump just days ago. She is a former personal lawyer to the president who has no experience as a prosecutor. Trump fired Comey in 2017 amid a probe into whether any members of the Trump campaign had colluded with Moscow to sway 2016 presidential vote. Meanwhile, Trump hailed the indictment, saying Comey is one of the worst human beings this country has ever been exposed to.
They're going to make a determination. I'm not making that determination. I think I'd be allowed to get involved if I want, but I don't really choose to do so. I can only say that Comey's a bad person. He's a sick person. I think he's a sick guy, actually. He did terrible things at the FBI.
Chaos erupted in Madagascar's capital as thousands took to the streets to protest against persistent power outages and water shortages that have plagued the country for months. The unrest prompted authorities to impose a dusk to dawn curfew in an effort to restore order. Demonstrators blocked roads with burning tires and rocks, demanding immediate action from the government to address the deteriorating public services. The situation turned violent by the afternoon, with police deploying rubber bullets and tear gas to disperse the crowds. Homes belonging to politicians close to President Andry Rajoelina were also attacked, underscoring the deepening public frustration. In response, security forces announced a curfew, citing the need to protect residents and their property. In Vietnam, Hanoi's Old Quarter is lighting up with mid-autumn festivities for the next couple of days. The Hoan Kiem pedestrian zone and Phong Hung Mural Street will host lantern parades, craft workshops and cultural performances. Organizers say the festival blends tradition with modern creativity, offering children hands-on experiences while spreading the message of peace and solidarity. All right, still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Russian Deputy Prime Minister meets PM Modi. Leaders discuss ways to strengthen cooperation in agriculture, fertilizers. From From solar power to life, PM Modi's vision drives India's green growth. And Leh under tight restrictions after clashes, district remains calm amid shutdown.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Recap of our top stories. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar slams double standard on conflicts at G20 foreign ministers meet, says threatening development cannot facilitate peace, also calls for no accommodation to terrorism. Indian Air Force to bid farewell to the longest serving aircraft MiG-21 with a ceremonial flypast in Chandigarh. Air Chief Marshal A.P. Singh will fly the last sortie of MiG-21 Bison aircraft. US President Donald Trump announces 100% tariff on pharmaceutical products from 1st October, also imposes tariffs on trucks, home renovation materials. And in Asia Cup, India to take on Sri Lanka in the last game of Super 4 in Dubai today. Already qualified India to face Pakistan in the final on Sunday for the first time in 17 years. India underlined artificial intelligence transformative role in growth, governance and societal progress, delivering a statement at UN Security Council high-level open debate on artificial intelligence and international peace and security. Secretary West Ambassador Sibi George reaffirmed support for global efforts to appropriately regulate development, deployment and use of AI in military domain. He also outlined that global arms control and disarmament issues should be deliberated and concluded in an inclusive and transparent manner within appropriate forums.
The use of AI in the military domain poses ethical, legal and security challenges. India is committed to responsible AIMD. We support collective global efforts to appropriately regulate the development, deployment and use of AIMD. These efforts should address legal and ethical concerns and the identification and mitigation of risks associated with military AI.
He also highlighted that India AI Impact Summit 2026 will be held in New Delhi. The first hosted by a Global South country, will showcase inclusive and sustainable development. Moving further, Russian Deputy Prime Minister Dmitry Patrushev on Thursday called on Prime Minister Narendra Modi and exchanged views on enhancing cooperation in agriculture, fertilizers, food processing and other areas of mutual interest. Sharing a post on X, Prime Minister wrote, and I quote him here, "Happy to meet Russia's Deputy Prime Minister Dmitry Patrushev at the World Food India 2025. We discussed ways to strengthen our win-win cooperation in agriculture, fertilizers and food processing." Unquote. Prime Minister Modi will launch Bihar's Mukhyamantri Mahila Rozgar Yojana at 11 a.m. IST via video conferencing. During the program, Prime Minister will also directly transfer Rs 10,000 each into the bank accounts of 75 lakh women across Bihar, totaling Rs 7,500 crore. The scheme, an initiative of the government of Bihar, is aimed at making women Atmanirbhar and promoting women's empowerment through self-employment and livelihood opportunities. It will provide financial assistance to one woman from each family in the state, enabling them to start employment or livelihood activities of their choice, thereby fostering economic independence and social empowerment. The launch of the Mukhyamantri Mahila Rozgar Yojana will feature a statewide program across multiple administrative levels in the state, district, block, cluster and village, with over 1 crore women witnessing the program. And the ongoing World Food India witnessing CEO roundtables, technical sessions, exhibitions and multiple business interactions. The event was inaugurated by Prime Minister Modi on Thursday in New Delhi. New Zealand and Saudi Arabia are taking part as partner countries. Japan, UAE, Vietnam and Russia are participating as focus countries. Here's more in this report.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the 4th edition of the World Food India on Thursday at Bharat Mandapam in New Delhi. Organized by the Ministry of Food Processing Industries, the 3-day event will witness participation of over 90 countries and 2,000 plus exhibitors, with New Zealand and Saudi Arabia taking part as partner countries and Japan, UAE, Vietnam and Russia participating as focus countries. With India's dynamic food processing landscape, the event will serve as a platform for business opportunities, partnerships and collaborations between India and international stakeholders. India has made giant strides in its food processing sector in the past 11 years, and the government is giving special focus on this sector with its targeted schemes and reforms. India is the largest producer of milk, pulses and onions. India is the second largest producer of rice, wheat, sugarcane, tea, fruits, vegetables and eggs. The sector contributes 7.93% of GVA in manufacturing in 2023-24, accounts for 20.4% of India's agri-exports, $7.3 billion FDI equity inflow in the last 1 decade, 100% FDI permitted in food processing, retail trading, including e-commerce. All these statistics show India's rise in food processing sector.
बीते 10 साल में भारत की प्रोसेसिंग कैपेसिटी में 20 गुना वृद्धि हुई है। हमारे प्रोसेस्ड फूड से जुड़े एक्सपोर्ट भी 2 गुने से ज्यादा हो गए हैं। साथियों, फूड सप्लाई और वैल्यू चेन में हमारे किसानों, पशुपालकों और मछुआरों और छोटी-छोटी प्रोसेसिंग यूनिट्स की बहुत बड़ी भूमिका है। बीते 1 दशक में इन सभी स्टेक होल्डर्स को हमारी सरकार ने मजबूत किया है।
In Bharat's vision of a developed India by 2047, World Food India stands as a significant contributor. At a time when the world is grappling with various challenges, including food security, India welcomes global collaboration to make in India and make for the world. Siddharth Bharadwaj's report for DD India.
And Prime Minister Modi has put sustainability at the core of India's growth, from solar leadership to river rejuvenation, afforestation and life movement. India is reshaping its green future and inspiring the world. DD India's Tapas Bhattacharya with this report.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has placed environmental sustainability at the very heart of India's development journey. His vision blends tradition with modern solution, reminding us that real progress cannot come at the cost of nature. On the global stage, he championed the International Solar Alliance, uniting nations for clean energy. Under his leadership, India has pledged net zero emission by 2070 and today ranks among the world's leaders in solar and wind power.
Prime Minister Modi went and made this announcement of the Panchamrit, which is basically the 5 major announcements that India made. And one important part of it is that 50% of our total energy capacity would come from green energy. So that was a major commitment, that 50% would come from non-fossil fuels by the year 2030.
At home, projects like Namami Gange rejuvenate lifelines of the nations, while a strong push for afforestation has taken root through unique initiatives. The most recent Ek Ped Maa Ke Naam calls on every citizen to plant a tree in tribute to their mother. A simple gesture carrying a profound message. Caring for trees is caring for the life itself. In 2021, Prime Minister Modi launched Life Mission, Lifestyle for Environment, urging people to adopt sustainable choices in daily life. From reducing waste to embracing eco-friendly alternatives, the movement echoes India's timeless philosophy of harmony with nature.
The Prime Minister was the bringing to a minimum the use of single-use plastic. The whole movement of lifestyle for the environment, LIFE, again was announced globally by the Prime Minister in Glasgow at COP26. A completely brilliant idea which the Prime Minister had.
Through these efforts, Prime Minister Modi has redefined India's environmental narrative, turning challenges into opportunities and positioning the nation as a global leader in green growth and sustainable living. Tapush Bhattacharya's report, TD India.
And situation in Leh district of Ladakh Union Territory, which is under restrictions since Wednesday following violent clash between security personnel and protesting youth, remain peaceful as there is no reports of untoward incidents of violence. All the educational institutions and business establishments across the district remain shut. People remained indoors and roads and highways bore deserted looks as there was minimal traffic seen on the roads. Lieutenant Governor of Ladakh, Kavinder Gupta, on Thursday chaired a high-level security review meeting in Leh to assess the prevailing situation across the Union Territory amid heightened concerns over public safety and recent violent incidents. Member of Parliament for Ladakh, Mohammad Hanifa Jan, visited the injured protesters at S&M Hospital and inquired about their health, empathized with their concerns and assured them that he would demand a proper inquiry into the matter. He also visited the police Chowki colony to meet the arrested protesters. And Minister of State for Information and Broadcasting Dr. L. Murugan concluded his visit to South Korea. The visit strengthened bilateral cooperation in media, entertainment, gaming and digital innovation. India showcased strong creative presence at 30th Busan International Film Festival and Asia Contents Market, Bharat Parv and Waves Bazaar showcase Indian culture and creative economy. Dr. L. Murugan held talks with Korean parliamentarians and industry leaders to deepen collaboration in media, AI, blockchain and content protection. Indian diaspora in Korea was lauded by Dr. Murugan as key partners in strengthening bilateral ties. He invited Korean delegation to participate in 56th International Film Festival of India in Goa. As the 9-day Hindu festival of Navratri enters into its 5th day, devotees throng to various temples across India to offer prayers to Goddess Durga. The 5th day of Shradhi Navratri 2025 is dedicated to Goddess Skandamata, the 5th form of Goddess Durga. Devotees have been flocking to the Sureshwari Devi temple in Haridwar, Uttarakhand to worship Goddess Durga. Devotees also throng at Chandewalan temple in Delhi to offer prayers. And the Ade Katyani Shaktipeeth temple in Chhatarpur, Delhi was also packed with devotees to offer prayers to Goddess Durga on the 5th day of Navratri. A unique Durga Puja pandal constructed entirely in fact of Rudraksh on the theme of Bahumukhi Theke Ekamukhi was made in West Bengal's Kolkata. The city of joy is known for its unique pandals dedicated to the goddess every year. Whereas in Tamil Nadu's Thoothukudi, a grand procession by Rudra Dharma Seva Sangam for Dasara festival took place. All right, time now for another short break. On the other side, more stories. Keep watching DD India News Hour.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Hello. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout ho gaya.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek. Some more stories. India's reputation as the world's trusted pharmacy is reaching new markets following strong signals from Dutch health officials at a major expo in New Delhi. The Netherlands is now looking to import more Indian generic medicines. From Netherlands, here's a special report.
Indian generic medicines are gaining ground. With rising concerns over supply shortages and market dependence, Dutch health officials are turning to India, the world's trusted pharmacy, for affordable, high-quality drugs. As European countries look to strengthen their medicine supply chains, the Netherlands is turning more and more to India, a global leader in affordable, high-quality generics. With Dutch demand rising and strong government interest, new opportunities are opening up for Indian pharmaceutical companies like Sun Pharma behind me.
There is a increased requirement of chronic medicines, very specialty drugs like oncology and immunology. So India has a strength in generic medicines, in low volume, high value oncology or immunology products. So that's the biggest, I would say, opportunity for India to supply and be a reliable partner for generic medicines. At the same time, any Indian pharma company which want to distribute medicine in Europe, Netherlands can become a gateway for them because of the fantastic road and distribution networks. So that's again one more opportunity for Indian pharma to have a collaboration with the Dutch market.
With one of the highest generic medicines uptakes in Europe, the Netherlands offers a stable and promising market. For Indian companies like Sun Pharma, this is not just about exports, it's about trusted partnerships, meeting high European standards and contributing to accessible healthcare worldwide. What does this growing partnership between India and the Netherlands mean for the future of Indian drug exports to Europe?
Yes, the impact is both way. From the Netherlands perspective, Netherlands is of course seeking to find a strong partner who can supply generic and a biosimilar with a reliable supply chain. And from the Indian perspective, this is the Indian pharma company also have to show commitment that they can be a reliable supplier. For Indian companies also, this is the opportunity to diversify their exports. You know, this can be a really alternative for the exports of the big pharma companies, and Netherlands can function as a European hub or a gateway for the European market.
Mark Limburg reporting from Hoofddorp, the Netherlands, for DD India.
And US President Donald Trump on Thursday signed an executive order to facilitate the sale of China-based TikTok to a group of US investors. Vice President J.D. Vance, who led the team tasked with finding a solution for TikTok, confirmed that the newly formed US-based entity will be valued at approximately $14 billion. Trump also pushed back the enforcement of the law, which would ban TikTok unless its Chinese owners divest to January 20th. The delay gives more time to separate TikTok's US assets from its global platform, secure investors and obtain Beijing's approval. Trump's order says the algorithm will be retrained and monitored by the US company's security partners, and operation of the algorithm will be under the control of the new joint venture. All right, sports updates now. We'll start with Asia Cup. A dominant India will aim to continue their unbeaten run when they take on Sri Lanka in a dead rubber Super 4 encounter in Asia Cup on Friday. The match also gives the men in blue a low-pressure opportunity to rest some of the senior members, including pace spearhead Jasprit Bumrah, ahead of Sunday's summit clash. Already qualified, India will take on arch rivals Pakistan in the final of the Asia Cup on Sunday after Pakistan sealed the final spot by defeating Bangladesh by 11 runs in their Super 4 clash on Thursday. India and Pakistan will face each other in the final of the Asia Cup for the first time ever in the 41-year-long history of the tournament. All right, we'll go across to Dubai now. DD India's Mukesh Shukla joins us from there. Good morning, Mukesh. First, let's talk about Bangladesh versus Pakistan game. Pakistan has made it to the finals and they will face India now in the summit clash. But Bangladesh gave a tough competition to Pakistan yesterday.
Right, Abhishek. If you see the last over when the 3 balls remains 18 and required, and the batsman from the Bangladesh side, he smashed a 6, and everyone predicted that the 2 more 6 went, and the Pakistan hope, but they survived at the last moment. It's a good match between Pakistan and Bangladesh. I think there is a lack of confidence in Bangladesh teams. If they can build some partnership in between the slog overs or in the 10 to 20 overs, so they can have a good chance to win. They bowled well in the first 10 over. They restricted Pakistani batsmen, when the 64-5, it was a good chance to convert the win, but somehow they could not manage, and Pakistan lucky to reach in the final clash against India on Sunday. So all eyes are now shifted on the Sunday's match. So, but how Pakistan will accelerate his inning in the unbeaten against India, it's important. And the 2 match we already shown in the group stage, they lost with India, and again in the Super 4, everyone's shown how India batter smash all their bowlers in the every corner on the ground. So Pakistani teams may have, they maybe make a strong plan against India if they are, facing each other in the final.
Right, Mukesh, also, like you said, India versus Pakistan in the finals, nothing can get better than this. Talking about today's game, India playing Sri Lanka today would be, you think, more of a practice game for India ahead of big finals on Sunday. Any changes expected in the Indian lineup?
See, Abhishek, it's the last opportunity to India, clear their whatever mistake they have done in the past against Bangladesh and Pakistan. Again, they dropped several catches, so they have to work out on this. So, and my personal opinion, I don't think so. Surya Kumar Yadav will make any changes, because it's the last match, and they will take this match like as a preparation rather than point. So they have to test their batting side as a Sanju Samson, Surya Kumar Yadav. They don't have much opportunity to bat, so they will also take the batting orders, and they also want to face some bowling actions in this match. Everybody expecting Rinku Singh or some other will play in this squad. I don't think so. Surya Kumar Yadav will take call, and the bowling side, they also remain the same bowler to participate, because it's the only single match in the Super 4 which left. Today they will face each other. So I think they will prepare yourself, and will correct all their mistakes or whatever they have done in the past, and they will go to the final, because final is very important against Pakistan. You already beaten Pakistan twice in this tournament, and this is the 3rd time India wants to register the victory, or make the hat-trick in this tournament against Pakistan, or lift this Asia Cup. They have to work in every corner, every like batting, bowling, fielding, in the each section they have to work hard, because the general catch which the fielder lose the catches, it's a simple catches, they dropped it. So this time I think they have to work hard on their practice fielding sides and the catching side, as well as the batter, like in the previous match we saw Surya Kumar Yadav failed to make a score run on the scoreboard, as well as Shivam Dube could not score again in this the last match. They have to take call again this Sri Lankan sides and Hasaranga and the other bowler they have to face, because Pakistan have a good spin attack in this tournament. How they play against the Dubai pitch, the toss is also important. The pitch overall, if you look the outer part of the pitch, it was very slow, so they have to work on it also.
Absolutely big game on Sunday, India versus Pakistan. They've already sealed their place in the finals, but today India will take on Sri Lanka. We'll leave it at that. Thank you for getting us your inputs from Dubai, Mukesh. The 5th day of Navratri is being celebrated with great zeal and fervour across India. On Friday, And this vibrant festival is being celebrated in unique ways, one of them being Garba celebrations, where people from Gujarat showcase their love for this traditional Gujarati dance form. Alright, that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.